Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. So, Bob Iger is under a lot of pressure as Disney CEO because of the fact that a lot of fans have been disappointed with the big things coming from the company itself, including the big three: Pixar, Lucasfilm, and Marvel Studios. So it's got so bad, even the mainstream media is actually talking about it. It's not just YouTubers and other independent media outlets. It's the mainstream media like Deadline and Variety. Okay, so Deadline reported here in one article saying that Disney being very careful with Star Wars movie development, as CEO Bob Iger says Marvel brand not inherently off, but do you need a third or fourth sequel for every character? This is in response to the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania because of the fact that the movie didn't do so well in the box office, as we all know. So going to the article here, it says here that, he starts off by saying this usual thing he says about his the things under Disney, saying all of them his babies, and he goes into details where he says with Marvel, he said there are 7,000 characters, there are a lot more stories to tell. What we have to look at Marvel is not necessarily the volume of Marvel stories we're telling, but how many times we go back to the well on certain characters. Sequels typically work well for us. Do you need a third and a fourth, for instance, or is it time to turn over to other characters? But then he also stated that there's nothing in any way inherently off in terms of the Marvel brand. I think we just have to look at the characters and stories we're missing. If you look at the trajectory of Marvel in the next 5 years, there'll be a lot of newness. We're going to turn back to the Avengers franchise with a whole new set of Avengers, for example. Here's the problem with that. Whenever an executive like Iger says something like that, where we need to turn to new characters, he's going to continue with the virtue signaling. In other words, continue with rolling out with the woke. And then that's going to lead the company to becoming worse than it is right now. I guarantee you later on, all of this is going to be blamed on not only, the Marvel studio head Kevin Feige, but also Victoria Alonso, as well as several others. But then Bob Iger is not going to take any accountability because all of this was done under him when he was CEO before Bob Chapek came on along. But so then we see here, as he talked about Star Wars, what says as far as Star Wars, Iger said disappointing box office returns in 2018 for Solo, one of two standalone films integrated along 3 saga installments, gave us pause in terms of the feature pipeline. Executives determined that maybe the cadence was a bit too aggressive, he added. Disney is still developing Star Wars films, Iger continued, but we're going to make sure when we make one, it's the right one, so we're being very careful there. Yeah, but here's the big issue with that though. Here's the big issue. That's also containing political virtue signaling as well with the Star Wars brand under Kathleen Kennedy. And I worry that as soon as she's gone, they won't get somebody like Jon Favreau or somebody who's a loyalist to him to be the leader of the company itself. But instead they make get somebody that's far worse than Kathleen Kennedy. That's what I fear. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I fear, But then Deadline also made an article where it talks about theme parks, where it stated here that Bob Iger says Disney theme parks were priced too high in zeal to grow profit. It's a brand that needs to be accessible. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Universal parks is doing much better than the Disney World right now. And it's a shame because of the fact that everybody thought, myself included, thought that Disney was unstoppable. But no, Universal's about to take over that realm. And then it states here in an article that was published yesterday from Variety, it says here Bob Iger is bullish on Disney Plus, but we're off on pricing strategy and need to rationalize costs. So going into detail in the article later on, it was said here in the last 3 months of 2022, Disney Plus lost 2.4 million subscribers in its first deadline since launching in late 2019, driven by a $3.8 million sequential decline at Disney Hotstar. Oh, I wonder why. Could it be the fact that Kathleen Kennedy fired Gina Carano from The Mandalorian? Could it be the fact that the Marvel Studio, the MCU shows up there like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, as well as Loki, were so abysmal to the point where, or even She-Hulk, were so abysmal that people got tired of the whole virtue signaling political roundabouts where they just left the platform completely. You know, I'm one of them. And it's like, we got simply sick and tired of it, okay? But then it goes on later talk about how under Iger's leadership, that Disney is reevaluating windowing and exclusivity strategies and is considering upping its content licensing. But here's the thing. He says, I think it's already clear to us that the exclusivity that we thought would be so valuable in growing streaming subs, while it has some value, wasn't as valuable as we thought. He said this yesterday, but then continues with regard to Marvel, which has 7,000 characters, repeat of what was mentioned in another article. Disney has to consider not the volume of output, but how often we go back to, and let's talk about the sequels, as I mentioned before too. Okay, so it's like, then he talked about, and it talks about how he went on to detail about Star Wars, about the standalone films that didn't do well with Solo, but now we see somebody from Variety stating that why Iger needs a new approach to Marvel output. Okay. So it says here, Disney CEO Bob Iger didn't mince words Thursday at Morgan Stanley's Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference when it came to addressing former CEO Bob Chapek's reorganization 2020. Iger highlighted what he viewed as a disconnect while discussing Disney's streaming business. So, if you see right here, Disney's $1 billion MCU and Star Wars films. Avengers Endgame still at the top. All the things that came either before or after that, abysmal. Okay? But it says here, since the release of Avengers film in 2012, which earned $1.5 billion globally, 7 additional MCU films distributed by Disney were $1 billion grossers, with 2019's Avengers Endgame the number 2 worldwide grosser in history. So then talked about Solo, the other long film made less than $400 million globally in 2018. Mixed reviews. Rise of Scott. Whoa, what mixed reviews? What mixed reviews? Because last I checked, there was like a whole bunch of other people, more people clamoring on about Rise of Palpatine, talk about how horrible it is. You know what? I don't fault Variety because they've shown their bias before, and they're showing it once again, claiming it's mixed reviews when majority of the people out there actually hated the film. It dropped tremendously after the first week or two. Okay. Or after the first 3 weeks. I'm not sure. I don't have the figures in front of me, but I will look it up though. But anyway, it says maybe the cadence was a little too aggressive. With the Solo film, repeat. And then still Star Wars transitioned medium successfully after Rise of Skywalker with 4-6. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Mandalorian, that's a successful series on Disney Plus. Rogue One prequel, Andor, they claiming to be successful. People said it was good, but then later on, they started liking the show even less later on through the season because of the fact that they were making men inferior once again. And that's what turned them off. And then there was talking about the Boba Fett here, where it says the former half just premiered its 3rd season, unlike the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Andor is another season in the works. Ooh. So does that mean that they're not filming the season of those shows yet, or are they not being renewed? I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just asking questions right now. But by contrast, Disney Plus has seen 7 live-action MCU series debuts since 2021, with the 8th, Secret Invasion, due by 2023. Only one series, Loki, has a 2nd season on the way. And remember, this came from the time where Bob Iger announced that he was going to do a decrease on the MCU series on HBO, I'm about to say HBO Max, Disney Plus, because of the fact that a lot of people kept criticizing how many stuff was added up there. And some people called it superhero fatigue. Others called it, more bad programming. All right. But Continue on, given a core function of the MCU's highest grossing films is sticking a ton of different heroes together at once to delight the fans. Iger is right to be critical of the number of shows devoted to Marvel characters. Okay, here's my problem with the whole thing. Not just with Variety, but also with Bob Iger and the MCU, Marvel Studios and Lucasfilm. People, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. They're not listening to the fans. They don't care about making money because, of course, they got companies like firms like BlackRock supporting them even when they fail. But here's the thing, though. Word got out there stating that Vanguard is starting to no longer do what they've done with the Disney brand, and that's to continue with the ESG model, okay? Because BlackRock started to take over that. Now it seems to me that Vanguard is starting to lessen on that. So we've heard it all the time. I've said it all the time myself. Go woke, go broke. Guess what? It's about to come to fruition. All right. So what they're all saying here is that Bob Iger needs a new strategy. He needs a new strategy because the same one's not working. The very one that he had planned out for the years like from then until now was the MCU planned out under him, approved by him. Okay, and it's like it won't get the fans back until you have somebody like Ike Perlmutter come returning to the helm, or somebody else that will not virtue signal anything political or put any kind of messaging out there in the shows and the movies. The only way that you can get people back to the MCU itself, doing a total reset, a complete reset with the things based on the comic stories that actually work, that the fans actually enjoyed. Not pulling a James Gunn move and bringing in all the things that they wanted to do that didn't really work with the fans, that a lot of fans didn't enjoy. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below, and everything that's shared in this video. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know what went wrong about it. Also, let me know any additional comments or things that I didn't touch up upon related to the subject with Bob Iger, Disney, Marvel Studios, and Lucasfilm. Also, if you enjoyed what I stated in the video, go ahead and smash that like button, share it everywhere far wide on social media. Also, if you enjoyed all the content I put out there, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Until then, peace.